All right, let's jump right in. We're going to tackle the huge, super complex, and let's be honest, often confusing world of urban housing. We're focusing on a city like Delhi, and believe me, it is one fascinating economic puzzle with a million moving parts. So let's start piecing it all together.
So, the whole mystery we're exploring revolves around this idea of housing stress. It's a total paradox. You've got this massive citywide demand for homes, right? But then you also have thousands and thousands of newly built apartments just sitting empty. It just doesn't seem to make any sense, at least not at first glance.
And that really is the million-dollar question for this entire explainer. Why does this huge gap exist? To get to the bottom of it, we actually have to go back to school, just for a minute, and look at some of the most basic rules of economics. See, it all starts with the fundamental rules that govern pretty much any market out there. These ideas are the same whether you're selling cars, coffee, or, as we're about to see, apartments in a megacity. First up, the big one, the law of demand. Now, this is an idea you already get. You know it in your gut. When something goes on sale, what happens? More people want to buy it. Housing is exactly the same. You lower the price, and that line of potential buyers, it gets a whole lot longer. And listen, this is not just some dusty old textbook theory. The Delhi Development Authority, the DDA, they saw this happen in real life. They had this housing scheme in Narela with a ton of unsold apartments. So they offered a 25% discount. And guess what happened? Demand just shot through the roof. It's a perfect, real-world example of the law of demand right there in action. And of course, you can't have demand without talking about the other side of the coin, the law of supply. It's just as simple. When prices are high, it's a huge green light for developers. They're way more motivated to build more homes, sell them, and make a good profit. Pretty straightforward, right? Well, here's where it starts to get a little more complicated. Because while those basic rules are true, not every buyer, and definitely not every type of house, reacts to price changes in the exact same way. This idea is called price elasticity, and honestly, the best way to think about it is like a rubber band. For some things, just a little pull, a small price change, causes a huge stretch in demand. But for other things, you can pull, and they barely move at all. And we see this play out perfectly across Delhi. For what's called lower-income group housing, or LIG, demand is highly elastic. Remember that 25% price cut in Narela? It created a massive surge in applicants because, for those buyers, affordability is absolutely everything. But then you look at a premium apartment in a neighborhood like Vasant Kunj. There, demand is what we call relatively inelastic. The buyers are looking for a prime location, maybe a status symbol, or a solid long-term investment. So a small price change, it's just not going to make or break their decision. Now, all of this economic theory is built on top of the single biggest, most important factor that makes housing totally unique: land. I mean, think about it. You can always build more factories to make more cars. You can always grow more coffee beans. But you absolutely cannot make more urban land. What we've got is all we're ever going to have. And that one simple fact, it changes everything. So here's the key. The value of a piece of land comes from something called derived demand. Nobody wants to buy a plot of land in the middle of a city just to, look at the dirt. They want it because of the demand for the apartments or the offices or the shops that can be built on top of it. And this, of course, leads to the next logical question for any developer, or for any city planner for that matter. You've got this incredibly valuable, totally fixed resource. So how in the world do you decide what to do with it? Well, the guiding principle here is called highest and best use. You can think of it like a three-part test. First, is it physically possible to build it here? Second, is it legally allowed by all the planning laws? And third, and this is the big one, does it provide the biggest possible financial return? Whichever idea wins that three-way contest is usually what gets built. So we've got supply, we've got demand, and we've got land. But if you just let these powerful forces run wild, you can end up with a city that doesn't really work. And that's exactly when the market needs a referee to step in. Because when you leave them completely to their own devices, free markets, they can cause some serious issues. We're talking pollution, a total lack of public spaces, and complete uncertainty about the future. This is where city planners like the DDA have to get involved. And they have a very specific toolkit to fix these market failures. So for example, if you have a factory polluting a residential neighborhood, that's called a negative externality. The solution? You use zoning laws to keep them apart. Or what if no developer wants to build a park because, well, it's not profitable? That's a public goods problem. The solution is to collect development charges from everyone to fund it.
And what if buyers are scared to invest because they have no idea what an area will look like in 20 years? That's called information asymmetry. And the solution is the city's master plan, which lays out a roadmap for the future. So as you can probably tell by now, a city planner's role is so much more than just drawing lines on a map. It's really about being an active manager, a kind of juggler, for all of these powerful, competing economic forces. So here's that planner's toolkit all in one place. You've got zoning, development charges, and the master plan. Each one is a tool designed to fix a very specific crack in the free market, to manage the bad side effects, provide the things we all need, and create some stability for the years to come. And that right there is the ultimate takeaway. The whole point of all these rules and plans is to try and correct the natural flaws of the market. It's an attempt to balance that pure economic drive with the real human need for a city that is livable, equitable, and just plain functional for millions and millions of people. Which, of course, brings us to our final thought. A city like Delhi isn't a static object. It's a living, breathing thing that is changing every single day. The planner's job is to try and guide it with these economic tools, but the real challenge is trying to adapt to the completely unpredictable nature of a city. Can one single plan ever really keep up? That's the question that planners and all of us as citizens are trying to answer every single day.